again, I'm Doug Smith. Welcome to this edition of Portsmouth This Week, the voice of Portsmouth, Rhode Island. We're here at the transfer station today to talk to Ray Antaya. He's our recycling coordinator in Portsmouth. And we thought we'd walk through the facility so everybody could see what some of the possibilities and requirements are for bringing your trash and recyclable materials here. Welcome to the show again, Ray.
Thank you.
Back.
Thank you, Doug. It's good to be here.
You know, I wonder if we could just start with this thing by just kind of start walking through just like you would driving up.
Absolutely.
And take it from there.
No, I'm happy to have the chance to discuss this place. What's important about the transfer station, the important thing starts at the very beginning at the bottom of the hill. We want to make sure that folks come up and approach the guard shack as slowly as they can and that they come to a complete stop when they reach the guard shack.
So here we are at the guard shack, Ray. The gentleman that works in here, does he work for the town, or how does that work?
We have 4 gentlemen that work for the town, and they have a very important task. They have to do a couple of things when the cars come here. They ask everyone to stop, and they're going to check the sticker. They're going to make sure that it's current and it's with the appropriate vehicle. But the second really important thing that they do is they're going to ask residents if they have anything other than trash and recyclables. If they have just trash and recyclables, they get the okay to go right into the building and remove those materials. But if they say, no, I have some metal, or I have a, some yard waste or C&D, they're going to call that into the guys. They're in communication with the Vinagro employees who are working inside, and they will come out then to ensure that those materials are placed in the correct diversion bins.
Okay, so that's the reason when you come up here, you stop and talk to the guard.
Absolutely, and instead of driving by him where they have to chase the car down, everyone should stop. I mean, we have a couple of stop signs here. You have a security guard motioning to them to stop. So it's important that we communicate that information.
Okay, Ray, so we just came in, we stopped, and the guard gave us the go-ahead to come in. And this is the first thing you see as you drive in.
Right.
Could you explain that?
When you first come in, he's going to explain to you whether or not the recyclings are being held outside, because sometimes they need to use the interior compactor for materials, and they'll close off the mixed recycling bin on the inside, and they'll have the mixed recycling bin outside. So if you're first coming in, they'll let you know that the recycling is outside. After that, if you have any diversions, you're going to bear to the right, and you'll see a number of containers to your right that we call the diversion containers.
Okay, now by diversion, you mean you're diverting it out of the main recycling stream.
Right. It's those materials, those recyclable materials that don't go into the mixed recycling. And there's any number of them, from C&D, asphalt, brick, and concrete, and I'll show you as we go around.
Okay, now, generally speaking, I don't think I've ever been here when they've had outside recycling, so generally speaking, it puts you into 2 lanes. So
correct. Generally speaking, you're going to go into one of 2 lanes. If you have just trash and just recycling, you should go to the left-hand side. Just go directly towards the building. If you have diversion materials like yard waste or C&D, you're going to bear off to the right, and you'll just deposit those materials before going into the building. Now, you're not cutting anyone off by staying on the left-hand side if they're on the right. So if you just want to go into the building, make sure you go to the left-hand side.
Okay. Okay, we've just come in now, and just on the right, we still have some donation bins like we used to have before. I didn't realize really that we still had this stuff. Could you talk a little bit about them?
Absolutely. This is convenience for the people of Portsmouth. There are collection bins in any number of locations on the island. But if you're coming here to the transfer station and you want to contribute some clothes for big brothers, big sisters, or there's also the Salvation Army. Now you notice the blue bins here. That's from a new company that we have called Discover Books. We used to collect books from Big Hearted Books, but that company closed, and so this company now, we can accept those books if you have them here at our transfer station. There's also Planet Aid. You'll see the yellow containers for shoes and clothes. It's important that textiles get, either given as a contribution. They are definitely not recyclable. If you have paper towels, tissues, rags, all of that would be considered trash. Otherwise, if it's something that they could use, it should go into the bins.
Yeah. So Ray, we've come in here, and I guess if we just have normal trash and normal recyclables, we take that left and be the other side of the yellow line.
That's correct.
And if you have diversion materials, which are things that don't fit into that process, you come over here in the right lane, the right side of the thing. Could you talk a little bit about some of these?
Sure, I'd love this, the opportunity. This yard waste is the first diversion bin that you will see. There's a misconception that you have to have yard bags for every bit of yard waste that you bring, and that's not true. If you purchase even one yard bag, you can come and bring that bag and dump it and take it with you.
You can dump loose.
You can dump it, but there is no, everything has to be in a container. We have a box, a bag, or a barrel. You know,
Yeah.
if it's, we don't want any loose material coming in, because it can cause a problem. Some folks have tried to, they raise legitimate questions about why can't I bring a tarpaulin? Well, a tarpaulin is open on the sides, and we've had people, you know, where things fall. A couple of months back, somebody tripped on a branch that you don't see inside these bundles, and they banged their shoulder into the container. The gentlemen inside that work for Vinagro would have to be constantly cleaning if we have material yard waste dumping all the time all around the container. So we do ask that it be brought in a container, but you can take that container with you when you leave. Now, contamination is a big issue with all of recycling now, and we're trying our best to see that we have clean material. So we don't want coffee cups, we don't want plastic bags, cement bags, anything mixed in with the yard waste. No rocks, no tree stumps. You know, if you have a tree stump, you don't know what to do with it. Rhode Island nurseries will take it for, I believe, $50 for a ton of it, but we can't take it. Rhode Island Resource won't take it. So limbs, no more than 3 inches. If you have branches, we ask that it be cut 3 or 4 feet in length and that it be tied up, again, so things aren't loose on the ground. And that takes care of our yard waste. We'll probably collect about 600 tons of yard waste this year.
Well, that's one of the big reasons I come here is my wife's a gardener, and I've got a lot of this stuff.
There are a lot of gardeners in Portsmouth and here on a daily basis. We do say that if you need help, you know, the guys inside will help you, but you have to understand that they're busy too. So you can't be demanding that they help you. They'll come and help you as soon as they possibly can.
Yeah, no, they've been very helpful. Okay, so yard waste is the first place.
The very first one.
We see over here. The next one is asphalt, brick, and concrete. Can you tell us about this?
Well, it's fairly obvious that, you know, this is what this container is limited to. And again, we're trying to reduce or eliminate all of the contaminants. A lot of this is basically for small mom and pop projects. You know, it's not meant for contractors. Professional contractors are not allowed. We can't keep up with the volume that they would bring.
Yeah.
But if you have a driveway, a walkway that you're breaking apart, this is a good place for it. They will take toilets will go into the ABC, but they don't want the lids of them. That should go into your trash. But the toilets themselves, tile, that can all go into ABC. Next to it is the bulky waste. That's our bulky waste container. That's available to the people of Portsmouth that have a transfer station sticker. You can bring a sofa to this bulky waste. You can bring a chair, a desk, a bureau. That can all go into bulky waste. But I want to caution folks that if they have a bureau, if they have a very large crib, I had a gentleman, if you cut that down, well, now you're not going to be able to bring that into the bulky waste. You've now turned it into construction and demolition, in which case you're going to have to be limited to a 32-gallon per day maximum, if for a C&D load or for ABC load. Both of those are 32-gallon per day. More than that, you'd have to go up to Town Hall and get a one-day C&D pass, if you will, ABC pass, and that costs $75.
Okay, so this bulky waste is mostly for things that are intact.
Pretty much. Yeah, there's a lot of details, fine-tuning that we need to do to the rules. The rules state that they're the general rules, but when you get down to specifics, things like trampolines have been brought in here.
Wow.
Well, that's a flexible material that can be cut up, and they want to put that into the orange page of throw bags. There are reasons why they don't want things like trampolines, boat covers, large carpets put into our compactor. They have jammed them in the past, and they want to make sure that things like carpets, which can go into bulky waste, but they want to have them cut to 3 to 4 foot lengths and tied. If you have a pad for that carpet, they want to put that into a bag because they disintegrate oftentimes and they become like confetti.
So the pad would become trash.
The pad is then trash.
Okay.
But, you know, so these gentlemen, the guys from Vinagro who work here, their focus is on accepting the correct materials and in making sure that the contamination levels are kept to a minimum. Because anytime we have a rejected load up at Rhode Island Resource, it's going to cost the town over $400 to handle that, because then Rhode Island resource personnel have to come out, inspect the load. They use their own equipment, so we get charged for all of that. So I can't emphasize enough how important it is and why these guys do what they do here to make sure that all of these containers, we keep them as clean as possible.
Yeah, I think if you look around at the yard today, today's Wednesday, a day off, of course,
Right.
but it looks pretty clean.
I think they've done an amazing job compared to some of the ways it looked in the past.
Let me ask you this: on all of these containers, whatever you call them, are these things carried away, or are they empty, or?
Well, some are carried away. Eventually, they're all empty. Like the yard waste is taken down below, and they'll bring up an empty one. Some of them get dumped into, when we have the availability of a compactor, they'll put some of the bulky waste down, and then they get hauled, and they'll compact them and haul them away.
Yeah.
But asphalt, brick, and concrete is basically used. They use it for road beds.
Sure.
When they
Just
take
grind it up
they
somewhere.
grind it up. So if you have cushions in there, and companies don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
You know,
So now we're at the construction debris, the C&D container. What goes in here? It looks like there's a lot of wood, old sheetrock, stuff like that. What else goes in?
That's basically it. If there's sheetrock, we ask, because it's a limitation guideline given to us by Rhode Island Resource, that if you're bringing a load of residential construction material, not to have much more than 5% of the insulation, the board, because they won't accept that. They want 5% per load. And so we try to limit that to an individual when they come in. But ordinarily, this is meant just for residential, small mom and pop projects.
Sure.
You know, and we try to limit the abuse from the contractors. This is why they didn't want the sticker. You know, if you come in with a valid transfer sticker, they didn't want to give it to someone else. You could have a stranger, they could pass off the C&D pass to a stranger. And so we're going to be looking at refining some of the rules. But for the most part, this is simply residential small projects that we're looking to have an avenue for them to dump it in.
Okay, now let's say you come in and you did something with a wall and you got some sheetrock cut up,
Right.
And the guy says, "Sorry, we got our quota for sheetrock." What do they do? Come back later? Or?
Well, your option, I mean, if you've gone beyond the 5 to 10%, they could say it could go into trash. It could go into the orange page of throw bags.
Yeah.
Or just bring, like, again, there's a 32 gallon per day limit. So if you have enough for a few days, you could bring it in the next day or the day after that. This barrel here is approximately a 32 gallon barrel. So you could fill this up with construction and demolition. And if it doesn't have to be level. If you've got the board sticking up, that's fine.
So I know we used to have a place where if you had something that still worked, you'd like to let other people have a chance of getting it.
Sure.
You'd stick it in a picking pile or something. Do we still have that?
No, we've had to eliminate that. We did have it inside in the center of the building.
Exactly.
But it was really an unsafe situation where folks were stopping, walking around in front of other cars, and it just wasn't a good idea. It is a good idea to contribute and give those materials if you want to something like Goodwill, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. You can repurpose, a lot of folks repurpose the material and sell them at yard sales or flea markets. Just find an avenue other than keeping them into the trash. But what's important is we no longer let anyone come through and scavenge through the materials.
Okay, the next bin down is the metal bin.
Yep.
And this obviously is for anything made out of metal that you want to get rid of.
Well, there was very limited metal that you can put into the mixed recycling. You know, there's tin cans, there's cans,
Right.
lids, and bottle caps. But other than that, pots, pans, chains.
Yeah.
I had someone with a metal shed last week. That can all go into our metal container. Now you notice it's quite full at the moment. They're going to bring this load probably this week. But if it's something heavy, just leave it on the side. They would have called in. They should have already called in to the guys that there's somebody coming in with metal, and there'll be someone here to assist you in where to direct it. If it's filling up, he's going to tell you, just put it on the side.
Yeah.
We'll put it in later.
Yeah, because I'm not that tall, and
No.
getting stuff up there is
No.
particularly
We wouldn't want you to try to get this up. Right now, the way it is, they're going to come and push that down with the backhoe and prior to shipping.
Okay, so you can leave it on the side or talk to
Yeah,
one
but
of
you
the
want to make sure that the gentlemen inside know what you're doing. If they're busy, they've been called, but they can't run out just yet.
Yeah,
If it's something heavy for you, if you think it's an issue, just leave it on the side, wave down the guy,
yeah.
and let them know that you're here.
Everything but the kitchen sink. Whoops, there
Well,
is
the
a
kitchen sink is there. Now this is a mix of aluminum and steel. They get a little better price for it when they bring it to to mid-city scrap is where they take it.
Okay, Ray, we're kind of back in the corner here, but you've got a place for propane tanks.
Correct. We'll take the propane tanks from Portsmouth residents. All we ask is that they be emptied, and if you can take the valve off, yes. But that's not a requirement. I mean, but we do ask that they be emptied. When we accumulate about 100 tanks, we then call a company that comes, and we get, again, a credit for how many propane tanks we gave up.
Okay, now we're inside the mattress bin. I can see you got about a third full, maybe.
Yeah.
What's the story of those?
The mattresses we can accept from transfer station sticker roll. It used to be anyone on equipment, but the volume is just too great. So if you have a transfer station sticker, you can bring a clean, undamaged, unsoiled mattress free of charge to the transfer station. We do ask that it's important that you call first, transfer station number 293-5865, and see if there's room in the container, because if there's no room, someone's got the mattress and box spring attached to their car, they're going to get here and they can't drop it off, because if they just drop it off, even though it's clean, well, it might rain that night, in which case the town would have to pay $70 for the disposal of that mattress, and that's why we have to charge residents a $70 fee. It's exactly what we have to pay when we drop it off. But as you can see, they try to stack them as best as possible, and once this container gets to almost full, they'll let me know that it's full, and I'll call for a pickup.
Okay. Now, so dropping a mattress off in good shape and put into this container is free.
That is free. That is free. Now, they'll help you put that in. They're
Yeah,
not
but I'm saying the $70 is only if something is left out?
Correct. If it's damaged, there's a sign behind it saying how if it's contaminated with bed bugs or it's soiled one way or another, if it's being pulled apart, if the springs are coming out of a box spring, we can't do that. And if you have a bad mattress or a box spring, you can take it apart to its respective components and put it, the metal, for example, can go into the metal container. The padding can go into an orange Tasia throw bag. You can break it down rather than pay the $70.
Yeah.
You still can recycle the material.
Okay, all makes sense to me. Okay, so moving next to the mattress container, you've got an area here for appliances. Can you talk about that for a second?
Sure. With the transfer station sticker, residents are allowed to bring their appliances free of charge to the transfer station. What was important to note is that if you have a refrigerator, that they take the doors off for safety reasons. And if you can take it off the stoves, we would like them to do that as well. But pretty much air conditioners, dehumidifiers, those you can bring to our transfer station. Just let the gentleman know that you have this, and they can assist you in putting it into the container. No, we do. We also have a container for tires. Now, a car tire would cost you $5, and that's up to 19.5 inches. 19.5 inches, or say 20 inches to 24 inches, it's going to be considered a truck tire, and that's going to cost you $10. We would prefer there be no rims. If you can have the rims removed, that's all to the good. But we do take your tires as well as the motor oil, which is right beside it. You can also bring your used motor oil to the transfer station, and that's also included in the cost of a sticker.
Now, one of the things, what about things like paint cans?
Well, paint cans, you either have your oil base or your latex. Now, latex paint can be put into the trash, providing it's dry. But we would oil-based, no.
In the can.
In the can itself. Some folks, once it's dry, they crush them so they can get more in. But there is a shop on East Main Road called the Healthy Home Shop, and they will take the paints, whether it be oil-based or latex, if you want to just drop it off there. And they see that it gets recycled.
Okay.
So that's a plus as well.
Yeah, I guess it is. Well, it's interesting how these businesses have grown up around the whole cycle.
Absolutely, and the whole industry is constantly undergoing a change, with a big emphasis nowadays and a necessity to have clean material. We absolutely they have to have clean recyclables, because China's just not taking it anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, before they were taking 5% contamination, now it's 0.5%, and it's almost an impossible guideline for nations to achieve. So
let's talk about e-waste for a minute. That's a big one. Everybody's got old TVs, computer parts and stuff like that. We used to take it over here, and we don't anymore. What's the option now for people in Portsmouth?
Sure. The option is you'd have to go to one of these private collections that they have. The Indie Cycle, they come around and they will collect the e-waste from anyone in Rhode Island. It's not exclusive to Portsmouth residents. And we've already had I believe 3 or 4 this year. We've collected over 45,000 pounds of e-waste. So and we're going to have another one on November 10th from 9 to 12 at the high school. So if you have an old TV, if you have a computer, take it to there. We're more than happy. And again, the town will get a diversion credit for that e-waste.
Now, is there a fee for?
There is no fee. There is no fee for dropping off your e-waste. No.
Okay,
they
good.
do, when you have an Eco Depot collection, if you're bringing some hazardous material, they ask that you try to make an appointment with them. Well, you don't need an appointment for the e-waste collections.
Yeah, well, I've been up there and they're very crowded, so there's a need for this.
They are busy. They are busy. There'll be 4 this year. We've doubled the amount of e-waste collections that we've had.
Okay, Ray, so now we're inside the guts of this operation, I guess, really, where the recyclables and the regular trash goes. You want to walk us through here, just tell us what you got?
Sure. Well, starting with the building itself, they replaced a good portion of the shell. We had some problems in the past with people coming through with trailers, banging into the sides of the building, and there had even been a couple of incidents where the workers themselves had hit part of the building. So the different insurance companies help, they pay for that, and we've had the building redone. And as you come in, you can see the give and take area is no longer here. We have a clean area, a clean professional operation. You see you have your trash. This is for the pay-as-you-throw bags only. Orange bags, there's over a dozen locations where you can buy those bags.
Yeah.
And the whole purpose, as I've said many times, of the bags is essentially it's a funding mechanism for the enterprise fund to help pay for this operation, to pay the Venago employees, and it's also an environmental positive.
Now, besides Clements, where can people get those bags?
Well, they can get them from Ace Hardware, Cumberland Farms, Patriot Place. There's any number of places. In Bristol, if you're coming from Bristol, you can get them at Zebra or Stop and Shop in Bristol. J.T. O'Connell in Newport, they sell them as well. So there's, like I say, there's over a dozen locations. An important feature of the interior of this building is that we have a number of video cameras, both on the outside and on the inside. So sometimes a situation arises where a resident may have a disagreement, or they may be unknown not know how to do things correctly. If there's a contentious issue that should arise, or if there's a misunderstanding, we can always reference the video for that particular time in that car and see exactly what has happened. And I've had to do that on a couple of occasions without contention. It's just say, look, the video shows, you left the black bags and you shouldn't, and they say not again.
Are those monitored or just called up?
No, they are called as needed, as needed.
Okay, so they all go in a server somewhere.
They do, and again, if I get a call from the guys who work here saying Tuesday at 10:30 around, we had somebody throwing a bunch of white bags in, not town bags. Can you check it out? I can review the video, isolate it, and then have a ground to stand on when I talk to the resident.
Now, then are these people, if they argue about it, do they go to court?
We've had to send no summons to court. Of the 3,100 approximately households, only about 60 households have received a warning letter, and to date, not one has received a second letter. So it's simply, there are warnings to folks saying, look, we're running a professional operation, we're doing our best, and we're keeping an eye on things.
Yeah. You mentioned trailers. Is that the reason that trailers aren't allowed?
That's one of the reasons, because of the way they would cause damage to the building, but also many of the local smaller contractors use a trailer, and they would be abusing the situation because they would have a viable sticker on their vehicle, but when they come in and they just mowed somebody's lawn, for a business reason, they come in with all that yard waste, and multiple times throughout the day, because we don't have currently a limitation on yard waste, and they would be taking advantage of us. And tops as well, because oftentimes the landscaper will use a topple, and it's easier for them to get it up to the top, get it over here. So we've got our eye on them, and we're trying to keep this primarily for the residents of Portsmouth.
I guess the basic message here is that this place is for Portsmouth residents' trash.
Correct.
And recycling.
Correct.
Not for contractors.
We have to keep the contractors out. We just can't support the volume that they would bring. And there are many things, as we pointed out, diversions here, that are included with the cost of a transfer station sticker. We think that's a great value.
Okay.
So when you come here, you've got first you'll see your trash. An important point is we want everyone to pull as far forward as possible when they come into the building
so
to make room for someone behind them. Trucks in particular need to pull all the way forward, and smaller vehicles can squeeze around the backside and get rid of the same thing. The first bin is your trash. Again, we only want those objects that are in an orange town bag.
Yeah.
We've had some folks with the same color orange bag try to dump it in, but no town logo on it. And these guys are pretty sharp. They see it go in, they're going to let me know, and you're going to get a letter from the town saying, don't do it again.
Well, that's why I just looked in there, and it's all orange as far as I can tell. Okay.
Right. It's pretty much a sea of orange. Plastic bags, if you come with plastic bags for recycling, you don't want to ever put those plastic bags into the mixed recycling.
Right.
They can just be thrown in here. They don't have to go into an orange bag if you want. This is a new compactor at the bottom of this pit. It costs over $200,000 for that compactor, and so they want to be careful as to what's being thrown in. You know, we don't need to be jamming the machine with large carpets or trampolines, things of that nature. So.
Okay, Ray, and at the end of the process, we got the mixed recycling. You want to talk a little bit about this particular?
Yeah, the mixed recycling was initiated during the last year, which prior to that, we used to take the recycling materials and bring the cardboard and paper in one container, and you know, the plastic bottles and cans in the other.
Yeah,
now everyone can bring everything they want, and you don't have to have a special container for this. If you bring it in a plastic bag, we just ask you to dump it, and don't put the plastic bag into the mixed recycling. But for the most part, paper, cardboard we ask no more than 3 by 5 foot, and try to flatten down all the cardboard. Cardboard's a good commodity, so we appreciate that. Clean newspapers, again, no tissues, no paper towels. Those are textile based, and they don't want them in recycling. I've even had, you know, we've had problems with some people not knowing what to put into the mixed recycling.
Yeah.
Diapers, that's not recycling. You know, if anyone has a question as to what is recycling, they can go to our website, the basic website. Under services, you'll see the transfer station. You can go to that and you get all the guidelines. We also have an A to Z list that is put together with Rhode Island Resource. And any item that you can think of, for whether it's recycling or not, just type it in. Type in plastics. You'll get a page and a half of plastics that are accepted and those that aren't. And so it's good. We have a more informed population than ever before, and education is a key part, and it's one of the reasons why we're doing this today.
Yeah. Okay, Ray, so now we're at the end where we began, at the guard shack. How are things working out? You think everything, the community's finally gotten aboard on how to do this stuff?
I believe the statistics, you know, speak speaks for themselves. Well, I know last July we had 420 tons of waste, and our recycling rate was at 19.7%. This year we had 190 tons of waste, more than half, and our recycling rate had gone from 19.9 to 37.9%. So we're very, very pleased with the results. We've almost doubled our recycling and more than halved our waste. So
right.
it is paying off.
Hey, listen, thanks so much for going through this with us.
I appreciate it, Doug. Thank you very
especially
much.
There are a lot of safety things and other things that I think people can learn about.
And speaking to safety, again, we ask folks to approach the guard shack as slowly as they can, to come to a complete stop. And when they're leaving, to drive slowly through the police, because there are people walking around that work here, and it's dangerous.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Doug. I appreciate it.